Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the dive jump where we jump into diving. Mr. Hammer, oh my God, it's so hard to get you on the phone. Life is
Very,
very difficult these days
very,
for you.
very hard. Yeah,
Okay, today's topic I think is kind of going to be fun for both of us. It's kind of a weird topic to talk about, but so the headline is ethics in diving, and I know it kind of sounds like weird, and I'll do the three easy ones very easily, right? So there's a couple of them that are very, very simple to understand. Um, I think the first kind of big ethical question that people talk about when they talk about scuba diving is respecting marine life.
definitely.
That's one of the first things, right? Leave only bubbles. Don't take anything, which is different than how it used to be, right? People used to
Yeah,
dive and take shit out of the water all the time.
yeah.
Nowadays, we teach. So if you dive in coral reef or in kind of anywhere that there's stony coral or soft coral, touching
hmm
the bottom is considered, oh, wow, right?
Don't touch the bottom. Don't don't lift sand with your fins. Be a very good diver. Don't affect the environment.
Especially if you have a selfie stick, you're waving it around, you hit something, every little touch um, is, you know, basically kills the coral and it
Yeah.
adds to the stress on the life.
A lot of time when people tell me I want to go do scuba diving course somewhere exotic, I tell them no, go to a shitty place that you cannot kill anything. And when you become a very good diver, go to exotic place and leave it exotic when you leave it.
Sandy bottom is a great place to go when you have sand on the bottom. So this, I think that's an easy question, right? And that's an easy ethical question. When we talk about diving, it's like there's no there's no opinions about this. It's like you need to like not kill things. We don't blow up puffer fishes anymore. Um, we don't feed fish anymore. There's some places that still do like shark feeding in order to bring the sharks so that you sit on the bottom and then which that's a different kind of ethical question about like should you do that or not, right? Are you getting them used to feeding? But then some places it's kind of like, well, we killed the environment already. So without us feeding them, they're going to die. Like we need to add, like we need to help them. So I mean, that's a question on academics, right? People with PhDs and marine biology degrees, they can tell us like what the right thing is.
I never heard about feeding the sharks because they will not survive by themselves.
There's some places that claim that if they don't supplement, like killing lionfish is okay. They're an invasive species to most of at least in some places in the world, they're an invasive species. I know in Eilat it is, I know in the Caribbean it is. And, we talked about lionfish hunting is not only, it's considered a good thing. And then, some people just cut them up and let the groupers eat them or let the other fish eat them and leave them there as food for fish, which apparently that's okay for marine life. Extracting the type of star, the crown of thorns, it's called, that it's like a type of sea star that eats corals. And there was an infestation of them in Australia, which was very big at the time, and extracting them or like creating artificial reefs has been very successful with all kinds of concrete and clay and just bamboo that people put, zip tie. They
Yeah,
just they tie corals to it and it becomes like a new coral reef. So I think that we all agree that respecting marine life is correct. I don't think everyone agrees on how to do it exactly, because if you see kind of like how the whale shark, you know, displays are and like, Manta Point in the Maldives, it's a little bit of a circus, but it's not our decision to do the thing. What we can do as individuals is try not to touch anything. And when you go down, especially like maintain good buoyancy and don't crash on the bottom and don't take anything with you on purpose, right? And I think this is an easy one to
totally.
go to. I think there's another one that's very easy. be a good buddy, even if you're open water diver. There's a reason why you have an octopus or, the second regulator. It's so that you can give it to somebody in case of, you know, they run out of air. So they're basically saving their life. I don't think every open water diver has a responsibility to be a rescue diver. I don't think everyone has to become a rescue diver. You have an opinion about that though, right? You say people you need to become a rescue diver. Like it's a
I don't
good.
think that, yeah, I don't think that it's a bad thing. I think that becoming a rescue diver is basically give you the knowledge to help yourself. And helping yourself underwater is making you a better diver with more confidence. So I definitely think that if you become a advanced open water diver and you already have, I don't know, 50, 70, 80 dives and you want to advance, one of the best thing to do to advance, to become a more professional diver, to become more uh, confident diver is to become a rescue diver.
From
I
an
definitely
ethical
believe that.
standpoint, do you have a responsibility towards the people that you dive with, um, to rescue them to the best of your ability? Is it an ethical responsibility, or is it just kind of like if you feel confident, you're okay, but is it?
Look, the main thing about rescuing somebody is to make sure that you can do that and uh, finish that situation when you are still healthy, that nothing bad happened to you. And as more professional as you are, you can do that. And it will be very sad if I'm an open water diver with, I don't know, like 100 dives and I didn't do anything to get advanced. And then I'm in a situation that I see somebody panicking under the water and I don't have the skills to help them. And I'm afraid for myself to come close to this
Yes.
situation. And then this guy dies. And if I had the knowledge, I could have helped him and saved him without something happened to me. And I saved some lives underwater to divers that I wasn't even going into the water with them. I was with a group and I saw two divers very heavy on the floor, and somebody had the problem with mask, water in the mask, and you see that he's starting panicking. And I already moved towards this situation and I stopped it before this guy jumped from 15 meters and probably would have ripped his lung or something bad would happen to him, the compression. So I see a situation as a rescue diver, not even an instructor, and I can see that something is wrong and it's gonna escalate. It's gonna be worse and worse, and it can finish badly. And when I'm there and I can, stop the situation from becoming much worse, I can save lives. So I definitely recommend that people become rescue divers for themselves first of all, and then if you save somebody's life, you go to bed this evening very happy.
I agree with you on some level, um, that you should probably learn how to be a better buddy and a better overall diver so that you can help other people and rescue them in situations. I will also say this, if you are in a situation and you are not sure if you can actually help, you're not physically fit enough. You're diving with a group that relies on you to be like they are new students or whatever. All these ethical questions, they are under the umbrella of, are you being a good buddy or are you being a good overall diver for everyone in the water? So I think that as a good buddy, your responsibility is basically to be be close enough that grab you can grab they are your spare air, you're their spare air. And that I tell people that the most important piece of gear that you go into the water with is your brain, right? Is your mind, is like your thinking brain. And the second most important piece of gear that you have is your buddy's brain. So I think that there are look, between you and me, if we go into the water, we are what's called the dominant diver in any
Yeah.
group that we're in. So, I mean, it's kind of hard for us to talk about this because it's like, well, in any group that I'm in, I'm like the better diver. There's not that many. I dove once with our friend Derek, and it was like being a princess. I loved it. It's like, you have someone who's better than you, who's like so so much better than you that you don't have to worry about things. I could like mess with the camera. I didn't even look at him anywhere. And he was always in the right place. He was always, pointing things out correctly. He was always like in good. So I think for us it's hard. For regular divers who have, 1,000 dives even, it doesn't matter how many, but they're not a rescue diver. They're not, they're advanced open water diver and they don't really care about, I think being a good buddy just means being there. You have two responsibilities. Be close enough that you can give the kind of help that the other person wants and be well trained enough so that you are not a problem. Don't ever get to a point where you're doing this and you're like, you didn't notice that you ran out of air, you know?
Yeah.
So I think that's as a good
Yes.
buddy, which kind of brings me to the next point, which is who are you diving with? Well, most of the time you're diving with someone you care about. Not everything is insta buddy. You dive with your wife, you dive with your kids, you dive with your friends, you dive with people that you have a relationship with. A lot of people, and I'm not talking about romantic relationships like instructors, like hitting on students, and that's not the ethical question I'm talking about. That's for instructors, and we know
That's
it's wrong.
that's
But
another simple question of ethics.
yeah, very simple. You're not supposed to do it. And if you have a girlfriend and you want to certify her, what you do is you call another instructor that you trust, you let them do the course, and then you can dive with her afterwards. Or if you have a boyfriend, same thing. Or, I know that you certified your kids, right? For example,
Yeah.
you certified your kids. So, I mean, there's like ethical, there's some gray area there, whatever. But I'm talking about like, you got certified, girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever, got certified. You're in a romantic relationship with someone. You go on this wonderful vacation to wherever, to the Maldives and or to Thailand, and you're doing your big thing. It's a little bit more than a buddy,
Yeah.
right? I mean, there's a little bit more than that. And when there's panic or when there's like, you've been on 10 hours on flights and now you have to get your gear ready and there's fussiness and you're trying to help, but right now you're not Mr. Diver. Right now you're boyfriend,
Yes.
right? So sometimes you have to kind of, and I've seen this. I mean, I've been with people where it's like, you know, the husband's in the water and I'm like, "Hey, do you really want to go into the water?" No. Like, "Okay, do you want to go into the water for your husband?" Yes. And I'm like, "Okay, I'll get you in there and don't worry, I'm not your husband. We don't have a relationship. You know, you can be mad at me all you want. I'll get you into the water, right? You can dive, have fun, I'll sort you out." And you kind of sometimes you're like as a dive master, you're like a relationship coach a little bit, right? But what happens when you're diving with your
Sometimes in the
girlfriend?
water,
Would you would
sometimes,
you would you do something crazy to save your wife, the mother of your children? Would you do something
of
crazy?
course.
Even though it's not like, it's difficult, you're going too deep, for whatever mix that you have, it's very difficult. You're looking at your gas and it's like, shit, there's not, you would still take a much higher risk to save someone that you love than you would for someone that you maybe don't know.
I'm not sure, because we are not regular divers. When I see somebody that I can save him and I need to do something crazy to save him or her, I would do something crazy. For me to save myself and let this guy die is not doesn't seem logical to me. But definitely, I wouldn't want people to die by trying to help somebody else, and then instead of one dead diver, we have two dead divers. So it's a different
I don't know.
question.
We've
What
talked
about
about
me?
this before. We've talked about this before. We've said before, there are, we've done some deep technical dives where we said, there's going to be two coffins, not one.
Yeah,
Where we said, and there's a lot of I think there's a high degree of trust between you and your technical when you go into technical diving. For example, technical divers don't touch my shit, right?
yeah.
Right? We don't mess with each other's gear. There's no buddy check. You don't do a gear check like you do for open water. It's not the same. And you basically are more independent. But we talked about this, I think, where we said in a technical dive, I don't want to, like a good buddy means that I don't want to go into the water with somebody who can't do this dive on their own. I want them to be independent. So I want them to be at least be able to do this dive and have enough mind frame because I can do the dive on my own. So
Yeah,
a technical buddy is different than a regular open water buddy. And a romantic relationship is different than a regular buddy. And that's and these are the three easiest things, right? Respect marine life, be a good buddy, and whatever
but
relationships you have outside the water, they kind of come with you into the water, and you have to. We are human beings after all.
what do you say? I have a girlfriend where both of us are certified. We
Yeah.
shouldn't go diving together.
No, no, I'm saying you should go diving together, but you have to be aware that you're bringing your relationship with you into the water. If she was angry at you in the morning, she's going to be angry at you in the water. It's
Well,
not like,
it's a very simple thing to take care of it. If you only you and her go into the water, you need to make sure that it's like anybody that you go into the water. That means that you have a briefing. We talk about what is the expectation from the dive, how deep are we going, how long are we going to be in the water, when are we going to turn back to the shore or to the
lost
boat.
buddy exercise.
With
Absolutely. I agree with you. It's still a dive. After all, you're still diving
so you're
before
doing
you
this.
before anything.
You're doing this professional conversation before diving, even though you're talking to somebody that you already know with them 100 times, and
Most
maybe
of
it's
the
your partner in
instructors
life.
that I talk to, most of the instructors that I talk to that have a wife or a girlfriend or a boyfriend, there's a lot, thankfully, in the last 20 years, there's a lot more female instructors who are amazing, unbelievable, do amazing things. They basically say that it is, the relationship does come with you into the water, but you're diving first.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. And I think that's the correct way. Now, here's something a little bit harder. Look, there have been things where there's been at least a couple of cases in the last 20 years of a husband or a wife killing their, you know, spouse in a scuba diving thing. Oh, it was an accident. And they actually, and it became to be like a murder. There was something in the Bahamas like, in the last 15 years. This is like a rare case, so I'm not talking about that. But in general, you bring your relationship with you. If they're your kid, if they're your son or daughter, outside of the water, they're going to be that in the water, and there is that relationship. And if you're a dive master or an instructor, every single instructor who's had one season is a little bit of a relationship coach for parents, husbands, wives, whatever, right? A little bit.
Yeah,
You have to deal with that stuff. Here's something that's a little bit harder, and this is mostly for instructors. If you're an instructor and you see bad behavior, there's no scuba
bad
police. You
bad
see bad
behavior
behavior.
under the water, like hurting the corals, or somebody
Yeah, you
is
see somebody.
mistreating his body, or
You're at your
neglecting.
you're at your deco stop, on the way up, and you see people on the way down, and they are heavy, and they haven't like gotten their BCD in place yet, or they're not as like they dumped their entire BCD and they are not, and they fall on the bottom, on the drop off. You're at like 5 meters or something like that. What responsibility do you have? And I'm not talking about dangerous. So they're not in any danger. They're not dying. They're not panicked. You just
So
see kind of like,
as you said, there is no diving police, and I don't feel that I'm supposed to be this policeman to start running after people and tell them, listen, you don't know how to dive.
you see
Maybe
someone
I
you
will.
see someone doing a penetration into a boat a little bit more than they really should be doing.
So what should I do? Run after them and stop them? I don't feel like that.
Go like this. No, no, no. What? Yeah, I know. It's difficult.
I can stay in touch by looking, and if I see that it's becoming risky, I can help them when it's becoming a problem. And after the dive, outside of the water, I can definitely say something. I can, give a remark like about what I saw in the water, but I don't
So this
feel
is
that should
I'm going to
interfere.
split this into two. Okay. In many, many places in the world, the vast majority of places in the world, you're diving by law or by rule or because you're diving with a dive master.
Yeah,
You can't go into the water in the Maldives, Thailand, Indonesia, Egypt, right? I think in Israel you're allowed to dive independently, right? You can dive alone.
Yes,
Oh,
yes,
I mean, not alone, not alone. Like, but
with
a
a
buddy.
body.
You can go with a buddy. So there's places where you must dive with a dive master. Most of the Caribbean is like that. You have to dive with the dive master. And there's some places where you're basically going off your own boat, so no one polices that. But it's so there is someone there who has like an actual, they are a paid dive master. They have a responsibility, to respect marine life and to get you out of the water. They're like a rescue diver or whatever. If you see something, especially if it's another instructor, so if you see an instructor and they're going into the water and you see something and you know that they tell you that they're about to do something unsafe. Like you hear the briefing and it's like, you shouldn't be doing that. Like that is crazy. Or look, we know instructors who've taken guided dives to 45 meters, fun dives, 45 meters, nothing happened. But
I don't believe that they say in the briefing that they're gonna go to 45
no, they
meters.
say in the briefing something else. But you know that they did it or something like that. Or you run a dive shop, you've run a dive shop, and you know that your instructors are going beyond their limits, right? They're diving outside their limits.
If
And
if
like,
I'm a professional uh, manager of a dive shop, I have the responsibility to go diving with all my instructors at least once, I don't know, a month to see everybody in the water and to be in control. And if I hear something, I need to take care of it. This is one way. But if I'm an instructor in a dive shop and I see some other instructor doing something dangerous or unethical, I should tell the
what about diving
professional
outside your
manager.
limits? Not with students, so not an instructional thing, but you know that someone you work with or someone you dive with or a diver at the shop is diving
You're talking
outside of
about
their limits.
somebody that taking air and going diving to 60 meters?
45 even, and they're certified to 40, 45.
Again, if I'm in charge, it's
Yeah.
one thing. If I'm a friend, it's another thing.
Okay.
Because a lot of instructors pushing the limits and check the border. Where can I push the border a little longer and further?
Look, we lost a technical diving instructor in Dahab in the Blue Hole because he started his dive on his deco and he never switched to his back gas. He forgot to switch to his back gas because he usually starts on his back gas. And then he
You
got
got O2.
he got O2, and this happened in the last year.
Well,
He was a technical diving
again,
instructor, and no one told him because he's a technical diving instructor. No one looked
oh
at him.
no, nobody looked and saw that he
No,
didn't
he was
change.
diving with people. He was diving with people, and then at like 40 meters, he started, glitching out, and then he didn't save himself, and he died. I mean, look, this happens. I mean, we see this like diving outside your limits or doing something that is outside of, and we are actually in more danger as instructors because look, it's very easy for someone like me to tell someone you're doing it wrong because I know they're doing it wrong and I have like the experience behind it and I have the assumption that I know what I'm talking about. You much more than me, right? Like I call you to ask you if I'm doing something stupid. um but I mean there's a limit, right, to how much you are responsible for other people's decisions. And when someone is like a technical instructor or IDC, right, Patty? Look, in the U.S., unlike Israel, in the U.S. there is no law about scuba diving. Anyone can go buy a tank. Hello, is that Shmulik or Ginger?
Ginger.
Ginger. We have a guest. In the U.S., you can grab a tank, you can buy a tank, um, you know, and go diving, and no one can tell. There's no rule. So I mean, if I'm certified to 40 with Patty or SSI or whatever, and I go to 45, there's no rule about it. There's no law. There's no ethical responsibility. No one can tell you not to. I mean, maybe they can pull your license or something, but it just doesn't happen. So there's no rule about that. In Israel, there's an actual law where someone who's like an actual, park ranger can give you a ticket. You can get a ticket like, like you get a speeding ticket.
Yeah, but this is if you hurt the environment, not if you're taking yourself deeper than what is your certification.
Oh, there isn't
Uh,
one like that in Israel? I think there's a law about.
it's another option, but it's not underwater. It's not like somebody in the water who would come to you tell you, "Hey, what are you
No, no,
doing here?"
of course. If they know that you did something wrong, I think they can do something. Look, and it comes down to, if you think about it, in the US, it comes down to the way insurance works in the US. So if you have Dan insurance, there's some insurances that certify up to 50-meter dives. That's it. Um, like adventure insurance, up to 50 meters, and it said so in the insurance plan. And there's some insurance, like Dan, that basically says any gas, any depth, as long as you're, within the level of certification, but you will get treatment even if you went beyond.
Yes.
And you deal with that, you deal with the agency later, but like the insurance covers almost everything. So, I mean, ethically, again, just from the ethics standpoint, is it ethical to dive outside your limits? No, it isn't. It isn't because from the ethics standpoint, regardless of your certification level, let's also talk about, let's say you're certified to go to 60 meters, whatever the tech rec, GUI, SDI, TDI, INTT. You do the 60-meter, trimix, the first initial trimix kind of certification, the normoxic. Um, and you haven't done a trimix dive in 2, 3 years. Should you really be doing that? Like, or you haven't dove twin set and deco or in like two decos in, I don't know, 2, 3 years. You're just not current
The,
on it.
the smart thing is to get your gear together and go diving to 10 feet,
Exactly.
and check your weights and do your training, it's the smart thing to do. But if you are very experienced diver, sometimes you can not touch the equipment for 2 years, put it together, go into the water and go
No, no,
to
hey,
60 meters.
you can't. No, I can put your gear together right now. I can put your gear together right now, and you can check it, and we'll go into the water, and you can put my gear together right now. You know my gear better than I do, I think, at this point. But that's different. We have hundreds of dives together, and you have thousands of dives. I have thousands of dives. It's different. We're talking on a different scale. We're talking about people who usually dive open, recreational diving, and they only do technical diving once in a while. And you shouldn't push your limits, even if you are certified to do it. That's what I'm trying to say.
You want to enjoy your dive. To enjoy a dive, you need to feel comfortable. You need to be confident. So if you didn't dive for 3 years with doubles on your back and decor in front of you and all this gear and all these extras on you, you should, and you came to a vacation to do some tech dives, you started by check dive for yourself, not that somebody will check you. You need to check the equipment, feel that everything is comfortable, sitting in the right place when you want to switch regulators, etc., etc. So I highly recommend that you will do a check dive for yourself before you start going to the depth. You can do it at the beginning of the dive. Just stay at, I don't know, 10, 20, 30 feet, check yourself, feel comfortable, and decide if it's gonna be a shallow dive to just check the equipment and go out and get
Agreed.
organized for the next dive. Oh, you can after 10 minutes decide that you keep going to the depth.
I
So if you
think I
feel very
think
good.
that um, I think that my work. So I dive experimental gear all the time, DIY, stuff that I make in my own basement, and I just put it together and I go diving with it. And that is kind of like a dangerous thing to do. I know that, but I go with a rescue diver and I go shallow, and then I try it. I try in the shallows and then I go deeper. Um, so look, the last thing I kind of want to um, look at. Oh, you have a lot of noise behind you.
Yeah, they're gonna go.
Is it the kids? Hi.
One of them.
Ah, okay. So
One
look,
of them
we
on the
we
phone.
have we have there's two more things that I want to talk about, and one of them is very easy, and one of them is a little bit harder. The easy thing is So we talked about currency and like how good you really are. Every single time we go on a dive boat, there's some guy who makes sure that everybody knows that he is the best diver in the world. He has two big, humongous tanks. And
And somehow it's not me or you, never.
look, I can say all I want. I can say all I want, but then when I go into the water, I look like someone who has all that experience. Like I
And
go
usually
from,
we say it's the first time that we're going diving.
yeah,
This is
oh,
our thing.
no, me,
Usually,
I got my certification in the back of a Walmart. I bought my
usually if you
cards
want
in the
this,
back of a parking
if you
lot.
want to if you want to know if somebody is experienced, ask him and he will say that he doesn't have any experience. Then you can start understand that he's the guy that you can
Like,
trust.
oh yeah, I don't know anything about the. Is that a regulator? Oh, cool. Nice to meet you, Mr. Regulator. So
And when
look,
somebody tell you I'm the man, it's dangerous. Usually it's dangerous.
usually they don't know what they're talking about. And look, there's some people who, I mean, lying about experience to get laid is one thing. Okay, people do it all the time, you know. But lying about your experience when you're on a dive boat and people are going to see you in the water in about 5 minutes.
And maybe somebody that it doesn't have any experience will trust you and go after you to
Yeah, that's
wherever you
even
take them.
worse,
That's the
right?
problem.
That's and look, it'll be obvious to someone like me before you even get into the water. It's obvious to me that you're going to like what you're going to look like. I can look at your gear, the way you put your gear together, and I can tell you like the way you're walking, the way you get up in the boat. I can tell the way you gear up. And it's not about being fast or slow. It's the way you do
Yeah.
things just automatically, So that's one, which is, a lot of people cheat the logbook. For example, they say PADI has a requirement or, SDI has a requirement for 100 dives and some whatever it is, right? You have to rescue diver plus 100 dives, or else you can't be an instructor. You can't go to tech diving. You can't do deep diving, whatever it is. So people pad the logbook. They go and they fabricate signatures. The only person you're cheating is yourself. The instructor doesn't really care. Like especially
Important.
when you start getting into tech diving, they don't care if you have. Look, we can talk about it this way. Let's say that from open water, from advanced open water, you put a twin set on your back, which is perfectly legal. You're allowed to do that, and you put a stage here, which is perfectly legal. You're allowed to do that. There's no one says you can't dive that configuration. Single gas, so there's no different mixes. You're not, and that's how you've been diving. And each dive you do is like a 3 hour dive. Okay, and you go to like 40 meters and no decompression, but each dive you do is like as long as you can stay there. Okay,
Okay.
versus someone who takes 4 tanks, da da, goes in and does like 6 dives in a single day. Who has more experience here? The one who has like 10 big dives or the one who has like 60 small dives? I mean, it's like there's a difference in, so you can't really say number of dives is like a very weird thing to say. It's like actual experience is different than number of dives and experience in different locations. So if all you've ever done is diving in the beautiful Caribbean waters where nothing ever happens, it's like a big bathtub. It's different than diving off of like boats that rock you and you're dry suit every time, or you're very cold every time, or it's like very difficult conditions. So I think we all know that that's kind of like stupid and bad.
Yeah.
And good experience comes from bad judgment. Good judgment comes from bad experience. Okay. The last thing I
Definitely.
want to talk about, and then I'm going to let you go. And I know you have like dogs and kids and everything going around. Um, and this is more for people. I think it's more for people, not in a lot, right? Where you kind of are diving independently. Most places you do not dive independently. In most places in the world, you pay for a 2 tank dive off a boat, and I feel like on the first dive, I'm a little bit more of a policeman. My my wife and I, or whoever it is that I went there, we paid a lot of money to go to whatever this place is to go diving. We paid a lot of money that day to get on that boat. If you're gonna fuck up, or if you're going to do something stupid, please do it on the second dive. Because then I don't care if something happens to you. Because on the first dive, if you do something stupid, I'm going to, even if I don't have to, even if I'm not, I'm going to stop you. Even if you just look like you're about to do something stupid, I'm going to stop you because I don't want to ruin our second dive that we kind of, because we ethically, we have to, not just ethically, just as human beings, we have to help you if you do, like if you come out bad, the second dive is canceled and it's kind of understood that it's going to happen. So, and I've done this at least twice in the last like 5 years where there's some guy on the boat, the instructor specifically says, hey, we have 2 dives, don't go deeper than 90 feet. Okay, don't go deeper than 90 feet.
Okay.
And I catch the guy and I see him going right to the bottom on the drop off. Like I catch him and I grab his hand and put his computer in front of him and I tap the 93 right there. 90. Okay, let's go up a little. And the only reason I do that, like I have no problem going to 150, 170. I don't care. Like I can go as deep as I want. But the instructor kind of said that, and I'm here with my wife or I'm here with my friends, and I don't want to ruin the second dive because you did something stupid. And I know, I mean, maybe he would have got his shit together, right? But I feel like if you're going to do something weird or stupid, or if you're going to be like bad, do it on the second dive.
Okay.
Does that make sense to you though? Like, would you also stop? Look, you paid so much money to get there. You paid
I
so
don't
much money to
stop
get on the
people.
boat.
I don't stop people. I inflate their inflator. Just go to them, inflate their inflator, buoyant them, and tell them now you're okay. Let's go. I don't I see that they are going to fuck up. I see that they are heavy. I think they
Yeah,
don't know what they're doing. I just go, and the first thing I do before I talk to them is to inflate the inflator, see that they're buoyant, tell them okay. They tell me okay, let's go. We used to do. I used to work a little bit in Mexico in a dive center, and I did the resort course. You know
yeah.
what is a resort
DSD. Yeah,
course?
yeah. The DSD, Discover Scuba Dive thing like that.
So it takes 4 people into the water after you did a class in the swimming pool for them, and you taught them basic exercise, and then
Yeah,
you take them with a boat to 12 meters deep. You tell them you hold the line, put the regulator, put the mask, everything okay. Deflate. You're deflating their PCDs, and you tell them you go down on a line, sit on the ground, and then you inflate everybody BCDs, make them buoyant at 12 meters, and do a guided dive. Finish the guided dive, go back to the line, deflate all their BCDs, and tell them go up to 5 meters buoyancy stop, and then go up on the surface before you take off the mask. You inflate everybody BCDs, and they did a dive, and they don't know shit. So if I see somebody stupid underwater, I will go
yeah.
and buoyant them, and then I don't need to worry that they will do stupid thing
I
in the
would say
water.
I would say this. If I'm a dive master on a boat, my my briefing would be, and I've done this even not as a dive master. I said, hey guys, by the way, we paid for 2 dives today, so if you're gonna do something stupid, do it on the second dive because then at least you don't ruin my day. And it kind of puts people in that mindset of like, oh, you know, this is serious stuff. But
Great
anyways,
way to finish it.
Mr. Hammer, thank you so much for taking the time. I know that today is going to be a crazy day for you. I'm glad we didn't have a siren going off. And thank you very much, and we'll see you next time.
Okay, Steve.
Bye.